With this video, we will be doing awkward moments between Janet Jackson and Beyonce. And if you want to help the channel and the content that we're creating, please help support our merchandise. The link is in the description. And if you didn't hit the like button, make sure you hit the like button. Try and get the channel to grow. The only way we're going to do this is like, share, and comment on the content. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Let's go! Chi, get the yayo.
Get the yayo.
Ray, Nicki, Will and Jada, Kanye. Was that the City Girls?
It looks like a little bit of everybody.
Fact, I got J-Line, Tank. Oh, that's the TTG.
Yeah, TGT.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Impressive Channel. Beyonce and Janet Jackson are two legends in the industry, and they are some of the most influential female artists of all time.
Facts.
One thing that is interesting about Beyonce and Janet is the unspoken tension between them. And some of you may wonder, Janet and Beyonce had tension? Some would.
The same thing. I never knew that they had tension. I didn't even think about it until she started talking. I'm like, does Beyonce and Janet got a song? I don't think they do, but it would be dope if they did have a song together.
Amazing.
Yeah, but I never thought about it till she just,
probably say they did. Now, it was rumored that Janet Jackson was very upset about Beyonce's comments about her family. But prior to Beyonce making those comments, Janet was openly a Beyonce supporter. She was a fan of her and her group, Destiny's Child. Beyonce, of course, was and still is a big fan of Janet Jackson, and she has always
Janet.
I'm a penny from Good Times.
credited Janet for being one of her biggest influences. In 2001, MTV dedicated a whole special to Janet, and Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams gave her a tribute by singing one of her hit songs, Let's Wait a While.
When I was younger, I was in a dance group. We were called the Smooth Dancers.
And
we were straight up Janet Jackson. We did Rhythm Nation, we did Escapade, we did it all. And we used to win up everything at the competitions because we learned it from Miss Janet. Let's wait a
while. I remember like a little bit of time when Janet was coming up. She was real big, and I knew she was big because that was my brother's favorite artist. Like a lot of people, he was attracted to her at the time. You know what I'm saying? I was a little bit younger, but I could see the way he admired her. You know what I'm saying? Right. But she had a point where she was running the R&B as far as female. She had like a little good run. I want to say 5 to 10 year run. Janet had where she just was at top of the game.
Yeah, well, she was just like. As it translates to my life, it would be somewhere between 7th grade to about my 2nd year in college. Okay. Like it was just hit after hit after hit. You know what I mean? And that just goes to show because her catalog starts way before that.
Yeah, and if you was a guy during that time, you was attracted to Janet Jackson. It's like if you're a guy now, you're attracted to Beyonce.
Yeah, it's real.
Facts.
My eyes work.
Wow.
Let's wait a while before it's too late. Let's wait a while before we go too far.
Look at her. Hey.
The girls did. I loved it. I loved it. They sound great. It trips me out really bad, but I'm just overwhelmed right now.
Janet also showed her support to Beyonce and Destiny's Child when they released their album Survivor.
We have another mystery guest who I'm hoping you can guess who it is, who is a role model of yours, someone you grew up listening to.
I remember this show. This was, wasn't this BET, I want to say?
BET.
Yeah.
See, and that timeline's correct. I graduated in 2000. That's 2001.
Yeah, I forgot about her, man.
It's dope. That was a great time.
Yeah, I wonder what she's doing now.
Yeah.
Just as inspired by as I think we all were, and I know I was. Hear the voice and then tell me if you think you know who it is. Mystery guest.
She pretty.
Hey, you guys, you recently performed...
You see the look of excitement?
She knew honestly.
Like, generally like...
Ah! You could tell she grew up listening to her music, so you're going to know that voice. Like, we would know the voice of our favorite rappers when we heard it. Like, yo, that's Lil Wayne. Yo, that's Drake.
Yeah, it didn't take 3 seconds.
Nah, not at all.
Hey, you guys, you recently performed one of my
Or she didn't say, hey, you guys. She was on it.
You think you know who that is? is Miss Jackson.
Janet Jackson.
Let's see if you guys are right.
She's not here, is she?
No. Girl, let's see if you're right first. Is it Janet?
No. No. Yeah.
Well, I hope you got it right. It's me, Janet. I just want to say it was great seeing you in Europe, and I wish you all the best of luck on your new project. Not that you guys need it, but good luck.
Yeah.
Always so classy.
Yes, and during this time, Janet Jackson was one of the most busiest people in the world. She was acting, doing movies, she was singing, she was on TV shows, she was doing a lot. So the fact that she took the time just to make that video for them, it says a lot that she had a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, because like when you talk about movies and TV and everything, I think people forget. Like you had like the movie with Eddie Murphy, was it?
Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor. She was definitely in that.
Yeah.
Miss Purdy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Miss Purdy.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy because there's so much going on, like you said, and this to see like how time changes. It's like, oh my God, Janet, and then I can actually grow and see that transition where Beyonce and them are like great singers.
Yeah.
And now they're sitting in that same. Now I'm curious to see who's next in line. It's just dope. Music is great.
We'll find out soon enough.
I'm so sorry to do that to you guys. You thought she was behind the silhouette. You almost lost your mind.
You said thought she was behind the
sorry.
silhouette. She not here. Is she here? Is she here?
Yeah.
When Beyonce made her solo debut in 2003,
Tough.
Janet still showed support, and also Beyonce once again
Janet always had the
credited
prettiest
Janet
smile.
as one of her influences.
Facts.
Beyonce, she's talented, very talented. I've been a fan of Destiny's Child and Beyonce.
Check out these deals of the
I think everybody
week
was.
at Walgreens.
I never met nobody that said I wasn't a Destiny Child fan or Beyonce fan.
I don't know. If anything, they was
Isn't
disagreeing
she's
about
doing
who
her
was
thing?
the
And I'm very happy.
Kelly or Beyonce?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Janet. I grew up watching.
I forgot about the Super Bowl.
Janet Jackson with Control wasn't what woman that wants to be a singer or performer wasn't influenced by her. She's incredible. I know even for my last video, I watched all of her videos because I always loved how she would take theater and mix it with the streets and some of that choreography and kind of mix it with her own little flavor.
I like how she did that. Took the time to express the little things that she likes about how Janet puts her production together and also the end result. And it just goes to show you, like when you look at Beyonce, she's doing her own thing. But that inspiration comes from somewhere in addition to her own. And when you look at her performances, they're just like that with the theatrics, the attention to detail with the dances. Yeah. She's just taking this thing to a whole nother level, though. But I just had to stop and say something about that because that's just beautiful to see people respecting those people who came before them.
Yeah, we all get inspired by people that came before us.
Interacted with her bands. Everything was wonderful. And I respect that she acted and incredible.
I was just saying that.
AJ
Free.
Now, looking up to Janet is really no surprise because Janet was one of the trailblazers of her generation, and she broke down barriers for a lot of female black artists in the industry.
Brittany.
She broke down barriers for female artists,
like her brothers,
and
Michael.
she, along with her brothers Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, changed the scope of music and set the blueprint. Janet checked a lot of boxes. She was not only a singer, songwriter,
Tiana Taylor was killing that, John.
actress,
Kelly, that's my baby,
but she
Kelly.
also was a dancer, and she was a style icon.
Everybody
Jennifer Lopez,
a lot of trends, and also incorporated a lot of heavy choreography in her music videos. Until this day, people are still inspired by her work. Right. Janet Jackson is super influential in her own right, and she probably is one of the most underrated because many people might not recognize her impact.
Yeah, I remember this video of
it's clear
Carrie
that
Hilson.
She has inspired
Rihanna, pretty.
And we know that she has inspired Beyonce. And even though Beyonce is different from Janet in a lot of ways, one can also see where she has taken some pages from Janet's book.
As she should.
During her I Am Sasha Fierce era, she utilized black and white visuals, which were reminiscent of the aesthetic that Janet used for her visuals for Rhythm Nation. And just like Janet, Beyonce began to take more risk with her image. She became more sexually liberated, more in control, and a lot bolder. And she broke free from the cookie cutter pop girl image that she once had, which was similar to how Janet evolved as well. And also Beyonce has taken some inspiration from Janet's performing style.
Harlem accents. Big.
Hey. They ready to rip them trench coats off.
Now, in 2004, things began to shift in Beyonce and Janet Jackson's careers. Beyonce at this point was hailed as the new black female pop supreme, and Janet Jackson was already cemented as an icon herself. But at the Super Bowl, things took an interesting turn for Janet. While Beyonce was praised for her brilliant vocal performance of the national anthem, Janet was scrutinized for her controversial performance during the halftime show. During the halftime show, Justin Timberlake ripped off Janet's garment and exposed one of her breasts. Now, this could have been...
You see Justin Timberlake's face? I was like, whoa! Oh, snap.
JT will live on in infamy after that moment, bro.
We're like, whoa!
The whole world was like...
off Janet's garment and exposed
Look at his
one
face.
of her breasts. Now, this could have been brushed off as a simple blunder. However, this controversy almost ruined Janet's career.
Facts.
The CEO of CBS at the time, named Les Moonves, was
it was a wardrobe malfunction.
And Janet was forced to apologize. Janet did release one apology video. However, that wasn't enough for Les Moonves.
Wow.
He wanted Janet to apologize to him personally. Now, Les Moonves does have a sordid history of sexually harassing women, so it's possible that he wanted Janet to do more than just apologize, if you get my drift. But
I never heard of that before. That's like kind of crazy that she had to go apologize to him personally when she made a public apology.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time I've heard it. You know what I'm saying? It's Nick Cannon had to apologize for saying something. You know what I'm saying?
To who?
To, you know, when he went on his tour, a lot of actors. And
I'm talking about to somebody personally, not just apologize. He had to apologize to him personally.
Cause CBS, he was.
I'm saying him.
Yeah, that was him. Even my face when she said it, I kind of was like,
we never heard nobody apologize just to one person.
Yeah,
it's always a
collective. Yeah,
on TV.
Yeah, that's asking a lot.
Yeah,
it's asking a lot.
I never heard of that.
But Janet had her pride, and she didn't do that. And this made him so furious to the point that he went out of his way to blackball Janet for 10 years. He had her blackballed from the Grammys that same year, and also he had her blackballed from Viacom stations like VH1 and MTV. And this was a nightmare for Janet because the Super Bowl.
Yeah, where you going to air your content? You got to think about the time span. And when you say Viacom, CBS, and you saying these call stations and whatnot, in her line of work, there's really nowhere to put your stuff out. It wasn't no streaming really going on.
Definitely not in this time, but that's why I'm glad that technology is going where technology is going. And you're not going to be able to just do this to people anymore like you can now because technology is going so fast that soon you're going to be able to put your stuff out. Like now you can put your stuff out. There's so many outlets. But right there during this time,
cutting the lifeline.
Yeah, they taking food out your mouth for apology.
Was supposed to help bring publicity to her album Demita Joe, but her album did not do as well as her previous albums because she was
and it was a tough album
because she was black.
Straight in. We call them black. Trust us. Of course.
I didn't even know about that.
Boycotted. So at this point, Janet was losing her steam. Even though she was respected, her career wasn't getting the same acknowledgement as before. The industry seemed to have moved on, and they were looking at artists like Beyonce and Britney Spears to fill in that Janet gap. And this is a common occurrence in the industry to really usher in the new artists to replace the old. And Janet more than likely noticed this shift. Now, when Beyonce and Janet posed on the cover of Essence with Mary J. Blige,
the Queens
did get a bit awkward.
That is
behind
a great
the
cover.
scenes.
It's a great
cover. Beyonce, Janet, and Mary. Apparently, the behind-the-scenes controversy subsided. Beyonce reportedly only agreed to the shoot if she could stand in the middle for the cover. But the editors had already promised the position to Janet Jackson.
Beyonce's team wanted her to be in the center, and most likely this wasn't Beyonce's request. But it still was a bit awkward that her team would request it, considering that she was the newest artist of the bunch.
Yeah.
Luckily, that awkwardness did not affect the shoot because apparently Janet, Beyonce, and Mary J. Blige were all smiles and all complimentary toward.
Almost remind me of an episode of Waiting to Exhale. You know what I'm saying? How they was just sitting there talking. It reminded me of that movie.
Yeah, and they seemed so genuinely warm and embraced. I know you got pictures going on, but I mean, it was forehead to forehead.
Yeah, that wasn't fake. They were generally enjoying each other's company.
Towards each other.
In the issue, we find out Janet thinks Beyonce is doing everything professionally and personally just perfectly.
Janet complimented Beyonce on staying grounded despite her soaring fame. Beyonce says Mary is all heart and emotion and she admires her. And Mary admits that Janet was always her inspiration. Aw, isn't that special?
You know how much wisdom was shared in that room to Beyonce from Mary J., who we know went through the ringer in the industry, and Janet Jackson, who seemed like she was in the industry since she was like 5 or 6 years old. They have a lot of wisdom, and I'm pretty sure they share some of it with her.
It's nothing like being in a room full of energy like that. And I'm sure they all picked each other's brains.
Yeah.
In 2006, things would get awkward between Beyonce and Janet because people wanted to compare the two. The comparisons got pretty heavy because Beyonce and Janet were gearing up to release their albums around the same time. Around this time, Beyonce was releasing B-Day and Janet was releasing her album 20-Year-Old.
Now, Certified is the show where you, the fans, decide. And this month, we're going to find out who's the certified triple threat between former Destiny's Child Beyonce and Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Janet herself.
I remember that. That was a great video.
Best boyfriend collabo goes to Beyonce. And the second category brings the drama. And that one goes to Miss Beyonce again. And now our third category, which is Dance Fever, goes to Miss Janet Jackson. And the bonus category, who's really in control? Miss Janet Jackson again. All right, now we're going to get the final tally, which includes the votes from your remote, remember? And from our Singular Connect in the streets. And the winner is... Miss Beyonce knows. You, the fans, decided that Beyonce is the certified triple threat. Now let's hear from Miss Beyonce herself.
Hello, I'm Beyonce, and I just want to thank all of the fans for all of their support and love, and thank you for certifying me #1.
Hey.
The comparisons were a bit odd, considering that both Janet and Beyonce are two different artists and they come from two different generations.
Yes.
But this was a prime example of how the industry likes to pit the newer artists against the old. And it was rumored that Janet did not like the comparisons and she did not care for the fact that people were diminishing her to uplift Beyonce. According to the Chicago Tribune, Janet allegedly said this about the comparisons. It's stupid. I don't understand why we both can't do what we do. Why can't we both shine and make great music?
And that's the question a lot of people be asking, because it seems like all industries, comedians, everything is only one person at a time is the way they kind of have it. And I feel like why can't we all just shine? Why do we only have to be one person? It can be one good. It can only be one top rapper. It can be one top singer. Why can't we all just be good at what we do?
I think I totally agree with that statement. I mean, why can't we all just appreciate each other and be great at what we do? Yeah. But I think it's just really the competitive nature of a performer. Yeah. You want to be #1, so you're gonna have to go through those things. But it in the moral standpoint, I totally get it.
Yeah, because it was almost two different completely musics and two different generations.
It'd be like comparing Jordan to LeBron.
Yeah. But they do it, so.
Can't do what we do. Why can't we both shine and make great music? Janet's boyfriend at the time, Jermaine Dupri.
I forgot about him and JD and Janet.
Yeah.
And then JD had a nerve to be cheating on Janet Jackson, which is crazy.
Life be lifing, bro.
Facts.
Also chimed in on the comparisons. He first called Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera copycats, and when talking about Beyonce, he said, only Janet records sound like her. I always look and think, where's Beyonce gonna be in 20 years? It's hard for me to visualize. I don't put them on the same plane. Both Janet and Beyonce did end up addressing Jermaine's comments, and also they addressed the comparisons.
Okay, I'll ask you about this because it's also been in the press too. Jermaine has made some statements.
It sounds like she gotta go do
we're in
damage
the
control
damage
after
control
he made
line.
that statement.
And on your behalf, because I guess he's holding you down and loves you, but he says things like, copycats of you, or I think there was a quote about Beyonce, and maybe these weren't true. They were written in print. I don't know if he said them exactly. It was a quote about where will Beyonce be in 20 years and
partying.
There's been a few statements that he's made like that.
I actually heard something like
What
that
year
on the
did they say
radio
this came
when it
out?
was said,
So I'm trying to mark the 20
and
years.
the way they had
after.
said it on the radio wasn't what he said. And it threw me for a loop because I said that doesn't sound like him. I said someone twisted that, and it wasn't what he had said. He says he doesn't understand how someone can compare a 2-year career versus a 20-year career. That's really what he said. I mean, I've really done this for a very long time. People always asking me, do you feel you have to compete with the kids out there today? And I
said no.
I don't. I've been where they are. This is just their second, third album. This is my 10th.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they won't be last. It's just, it's not an easy thing to say 20 years later and still have people anticipate the work that you create. There's a lot to be said about that, and I'm just very thankful.
People have been comparing because her album.
I like how Janet, in that interview with Angie Martinez, she just seems so honest. She was like, I'm not hating on anybody, just don't diminish my star.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you're doing comparisons, that's always a thin gray area. Somebody is going to be offended because, like she said, you're talking about 20 years into. She's not saying she went, and we see that she continued on for those 20 years
definitely,
plus.
yeah.
But I can definitely understand her thought process in that situation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was brought on because it's the industry. They always put females against each other. It's always been like that. As far as the R&B singers, the female rappers, they always put them against each other for whatever reason.
Is coming around the same time, Janet Jackson and Beyonce.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's crazy just because I admire Janet Jackson. I mean, when I was a kid, I tried to do her dance routines. Right. And I still, when I did my record, I had her videos playing because she's inspirational to me. She's been doing this for 20 years. Right. I feel like I've been doing this for a long time. She's been doing it for 20 years. She's in her own league. You can't call me her peer. Right. I haven't earned that yet. I have to do this 10 more years. Right. So I don't think, if anything, I admire her. I don't think that we should be compared to each other.
I'm sorry that I have to bring this up, but I do because it was a public statement. Jermaine Dupri made some statements saying, I guess he was kind of rocking with his girl.
And he should.
And as he should.
As he should.
And when people, I
like what Beyonce is doing with this, because even though the conversation is about putting them against each other, Angie Martinez being a radio personality, she's still carrying that same thing on. You could have just left this question out, but of course, ratings, I get it, but I can really tell that Beyonce's walking the high road with this, and I like the way that she's carrying it. She could have got ugly with it, but she's like, no, I'm going to walk the high road.
Yeah, I like everybody's position in this. I like Angie Martinez's position because you could tell she wanted to dance around the question, but it was a hot topic at the time. Yeah. You have to. And then she's like, at this time, she's one of few people who could probably even get this close. You know what I'm saying? So she had to tackle the question, but Beyonce definitely took a road of grace there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
nice to see.
That's nice. You don't see it.
Nah.
You don't see it. Most people, I get the opportunity to shine right now.
You definitely want to see it from the younger generation. They don't carry it like that. She's from our generation where we know to carry it like that. You get what I'm saying?
Real talk.
I guess people have been comparing the two of you, and he said, well, Janet has been doing her thing. Let's see where Beyonce is in 20 years. He made a statement that was something like that. It was a little sideways.
You know what? God bless you, Jermaine, baby. God bless you. That's all I say.
It's like I said, I can already tell by the first question she was on a walk the high road on this question, and she did it again. Smart. And remember, we seen this video when we reacted to this. Yeah. When the guy went and moved the ladder and she was mad.
Yeah.
Nice.
She was hot about that ladder being there.
As you could hear, Beyonce has always been very careful and gracious with her statements, and she always spoke very highly of Janet Jackson. However, there was a point where she slipped up.
They say seeing is believing, but with
Man, that
Stearns
mattress
and
look
Foster,
comfortable.
that's
Man,
when
get some
we
good
find
sleep
the
on that
story.
thing.
We handcraft every
18
Stearns and
inch
Foster.
bed right there.
And said
Sleep.
something about Janet's family that rubbed her the wrong way. In her interview with Elle magazine, she said, "I grew up upper class, private school. My dad had a Jaguar. We're African American and we work together as a family. So people assume we're like the Jacksons. But I didn't have parents using me to get out of a bad situation." Now, it was rumored that Janet was really upset about these comments. According to the National Enquirer, take the source as you will, the insider said, yes, Janet and the Jackson family came from Gary, Indiana, and there were a time they barely squeaked by, but Janet has many loving memories and is incensed that Beyonce would make a crack like that. Janet wanted to know why Beyonce had to mention her family. They're not friends, they barely know each other. She feels Beyonce went out of her way to tell the world she's from the upper class and the Jacksons were like a bunch of dirty gutter rats.
Wow.
Janet is proud of her family and how they came from nothing and became superstars. Not only is Janet telling everyone who will listen that Beyonce has a lot of growing up to do and she needs to stop trying to impress everyone, she's planning to confront Beyonce herself and read her the riot act.
Wow.
Now, it was also rumored that Beyonce's sister Solange commented on Janet's reaction. During a dinner conversation with friends, a source claimed that Solange almost laughed when the subject...
During a dinner with friends? One of the sources is one of the so-called friends at the dinner.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
...was brought up, saying, whatever, Beyonce ain't scared of Janet. All my sister did was tell the truth. She wasn't trying to hurt nobody.
Wow.
Now, this was all alleged. We can't confirm whether or not
Solange.
this was real. But Beyonce's comments about Janet's family was definitely real. But looking at the context of the interview, Beyonce was basically trying to say that she did not have a hard life growing up. The Jackson family, on the other hand, did have to struggle. And a lot of people saw the story of their come up on the Jacksons' American Dream. Their father,
Classic
Joe
movie.
Jackson, was painted as a tyrant who pushed his children to get out of the hood. And while it was admirable what he was able to do with his family, he didn't always get the best coverage in the media. And Beyonce probably didn't want her family to be viewed in that same negative light, which is probably why she made the comment she made. It seemed like it came from an innocent place, but still Janet did not like it at all. And understandably so, because Janet would have never said anything like that about Beyonce or her family. In fact, when she was asked about Beyonce and her father Matthew, her comments were a bit more positive and respectful.
And Miss Jackson, when you see somebody like Beyonce, whose dad...
Oh, now you call her Miss Jackson. That's...
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
Miss Jackson.
I had to say Miss Jackson. I had to say Miss Jackson. When you see Beyonce and how strong her father's influence on her career is, do you see like kind of a similarity on the point where she's going to have to break away from him the same way you had to break away from your father?
Good question.
Great question.
Every situation is different. I could see where the inspiration came from. I could see that part of it, that aspect of it. Every situation is different. I don't know. I don't know their relationship. I think they're doing a very wonderful job together, and hopefully it won't happen. It doesn't happen with everyone.
After this...
Great answer. I don't know Beyonce's situation. I just know my situation. Well, my situation, I had to break away. She got have a completely different situation going over there, so I'm not going to even speak on it because I don't know that situation. I thought it was a great answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to feed into anything, not to create anything that's not there.
Don't pour gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, you don't get that thing no oxygen.
Nah. It would have been another headline, another headline, another headline.
Whole controversy, Beyonce still continued to acknowledge Janet as one of her inspirations.
The show starts off with an amazing Michael Jackson tribute. What are you hoping to see up on stage?
Well, I know that his sister, who is one of my biggest inspirations, I'm very excited to see her. It's going to be very emotional for her and for all of us.
You look in the audience and you see this little girl that was me when I was looking at Michael or Janet or Tina Turner. And it's no way I'm not going to give 100% because I remember being that girl.
Beyonce also dressed up as Janet Jackson for Halloween, and she dressed her daughter, Blue Ivy, as Michael Jackson, which showed that her admiration for the Jacksons was still very strong. Not only that, she showed up to see Janet Jackson at her Unbreakable World Tour. Beyonce didn't get a chance to actually take a picture with...
I'm a dope sure we got the picture together.
There's a different way to treat HIV. It's every other month injectable Cabenuva for adults who are undetectable.
Let's put this out. Everything's good over here.
With Janet, but she did take a picture with Janet's child backup dancers. In 2019, she also saw Janet at her Las Vegas show with Kelly Rowland. Interestingly enough, Janet took several pictures with Kelly, but she did not take any pictures with Beyonce. But it is possible that maybe Beyonce left the show early, so she didn't get to greet Janet. Or maybe she opted not to take a picture. Who knows? But it is noticeable that Janet hasn't publicly acknowledged Beyonce since that interview. Janet has acknowledged other artists who have mentioned her. For example, she acknowledged Taylor Swift when Taylor mentioned her name in her song Snow on the Beach. But when Beyonce mentioned her on her Break My Soul remix, it was crickets from Janet's end. Now, I'm not going to assume that Janet is still upset with Beyonce over those comments, but it is noticeable that she hasn't really acknowledged Beyonce. Either way, Beyonce still has a lot of respect for Janet. And I'm pretty sure Janet respects Beyonce's talent as well. Both of these women are icons and legends in their own right.
Better than a lot of
They're
these
trailblazers,
chicks
and they are
right
some
now.
of the most influential artists of their respective generations. So it's hard to imagine that the respect they have for each other as artists would be lost. But hopefully,
she's still getting it though.
Let's go, Janet.
Nice to
right.
see Beyonce and Janet.
I didn't know she still had it like this. Yes,
anyway,
let's go,
tell
Janet.
me what y'all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
It's TRE-TV. Let's get it.
This is Lamar Wilson here, representing Ghetto Action News Network _ all lower cases.
No spaces.
You can find us on Facebook, and when you do, hit the like button. All right, I'm gonna get right into this. Beyonce pissed off Janet Jackson by shading the Jacksons. This was the title of the story. However, as we got deeper into this, it seemed more like two artists who had a respect for each other, and it just seemed like at the time the industry was trying to create something that wasn't really there. You know, and people trying to explain things kind of got, and they both just kind of, but they still found a way to keep evolving and keep going up. I thought this was pretty well explained to a certain extent. It did fill in a little bit of blanks here. There were some things that I didn't necessarily quite get, but I thought it was entertaining to watch. I really did. What did you think about this?
I think it was great to see two legends, to see what they went through, because I knew nothing about none of this. I never knew they had a problem. I definitely knew Beyonce was inspired by Janet Jackson, just like a lot of female was around that time, because when I was a kid coming up, she was the GOAT of females. She was the top. Her or Whitney Houston, it was either one of those two when I was coming up. So it was dope to see that she did take Beyonce on her arms, and it seemed like Beyonce was trying to fix whatever they had. And a lot of this stuff happened before 2008. I think if it would have happened around this time, it would have been easier to fix, because we got social media. She could have just reached out to her on Instagram or social media, and all that stuff could have been fixed. Like, hey, what do you mean do that? At this time, the only reason you get your voice heard to the other person, you gotta do it through the media and let it travel to them, because you just can't pick up your phone and
right, things was different.
It was a lot different. But to see them that they trying to get through it, I like to see both of these living legends, and it was dope just to watch this. She did a good job with this documentary and explaining everything, because I feel like I know so much more about the situation than I knew before I hit play on this video. And I can't wait to get into the next video from Beyonce. But until then, it's your boy TRE-TV, and I'm out.